back in time, a time where it all began, the early 1800s, when settlers discovered and named this great city Beloit. Now, I would love to take each and every one of you back to that time and walk year by year to 2018, but I feel that may take more than the 3 minutes allowed. So in the interest of time, let's fast forward to where we are now. Just like the individuals who discovered Beloit, they were determined and committed to making this a great city. Nearly 200 years later, Beloit is still full of individuals who are determined and committed to making this a great city. In Beloit, we have a partnership made up of residents, city councilors, city staff, and the business and educational community. Each year, the president of the city council presents results and goals for the city. 2018 is a new year for the city. We have already witnessed continued growth and success. We can only accomplish this by working together to make our city and community a place where anyone would be proud to call home, not for a few years, but for a lifetime. One of the big challenges for any city is to provide a great quality of life for their residents. I am proud to say that the council, staff, and residents continue to work together to make Beloit a safer community with increased trust in our leadership. Through this partnership, we have attracted new businesses, new jobs, and new residents. So how did we get here? I'm glad you asked. 2 years ago, the council and city manager established 6 key objectives as our guiding principles. We continue to monitor our progress as it relates to these objectives. Although we have made great strides, we still have a lot of work to do. In short, we will get there. I encourage city staff to continue to celebrate our many successes while keeping focus on our challenges. In developing these guiding principles, we ask one simple question: what would the residents want? I must be quick to remind everyone that as counselors, this is one of our many tasks, making sure our citizens' voices are heard. I would like to take a moment to provide an update on the 6 objectives. Objective 1, create and sustain safe and healthy neighborhoods. The residents demanded a safe community, and the city responded. I am happy to report we have gone over 1 year without a gun-related homicide, and we are approaching 1 year without a single homicide. Violent crimes were reduced by 14%. We had 29% fewer shootings, and shots fired were reduced by 65%. Our police department has cleared 70% of its violent crime reports, far exceeding communities of comparable size. Thank you to the police chief and every officer who has shown bravery and dedication to help make our community safe for all residents. Thank you for taking the attitude that crime will never be tolerated here. We celebrate the successes while continuing to address the challenges. Our fire department has been working diligently to provide fire and emergency care for our residents with a 7% increase in calls for service. They have transported 90 more individuals to the hospital in 2017 than they did in 2016. They responded to 98 fires, which is 8 more than they did in 2016. Now, this may not seem like much, but the amount of work it takes to fight fires and assist people is huge. Our firefighters continue to work in the community and in the school district and teach and train on fire protection initiatives. The compassion shown by these men and women does not go unnoticed. Whether it has been finding resources for dozens of people displaced from their homes due to dangerously malfunctioning furnaces, or on a bitterly cold winter night, or doing everything they can to save a life. We know the community is in safe hands due to our firefighters. They often are called upon to assist other cities in their times of need. Thank you to the chief and each and every one of you in the fire department for what you do each day. We celebrate our successes while continuing to address the challenges. What can the city do to improve housing on the west side? Why doesn't the city improve housing on the west side with all these rundown homes? This is a cry we heard from our residents, and the city responded. We targeted west side areas to revitalize. Average home sales are 102% higher than they were in 2016, and the assessed home values in the targeted area grew by 2.8%. We continue to look for ways to improve all of our neighborhoods. Hats off to Community Development Director Julie Christensen and her team for keeping their eye on the goal. Objective 2, create and sustain a high-performing organization. Our city staff, under City Manager Lori Luther's leadership and with the full support of the City Council, have expanded their external hiring searches to create opportunities for men and women of all backgrounds to start a career with the City of Beloit. We've enacted changes to our police and fire recruitment practices that will attract more minority candidates. We know our diverse community wants to be served by people who reflect all demographics, races, and genders, and we are working toward that goal. 26% of Beloit Police Department's new hires in 2016 and 2017 were minority or female. 44% of Beloit Fire Department new hires in 2018 were minority or female. 26% of seasonal employees were minorities in 2017. We will continue to enhance our hiring practices to ensure that qualified candidates from all backgrounds are given the opportunity to work for the residents of Beloit. Thank you to City Manager Lori Luther, Human Resources Director Marianne Marshall, and all city staff who continue to strive toward this goal. Other highlights from 2016 and 2017 include increased focus on ongoing training, especially in our police, fire, and public works departments, and recent changes to the city's workers' compensation policy that changed in 2017. Our workers' compensation changes resulted in a 44% reduction in workplace injuries, saving $425,161 in workers' compensation claims compared to 2016. Thanks to Finance Director Eric Miller and Risk Manager David Neifeld and anyone else who assisted with this task. Once again, the residents spoke and the city listened. Objective 3, create and sustain economic and residential growth. It's exciting to see new construction, renovations, and remodels happening throughout the city. We're looking forward to seeing the following businesses and organizations expand or locate to Beloit in 2018 and beyond. First National Bank and Trust Company's new operations center in the Ironworks campus by the summer of 2018. Hotel Goodwin by the summer of 2018. Beloit College's Powerhouse Project 2019 for completion. The G5 Brewing Company, spring of 2018. Holiday Inn Express, spring of 2018 for construction. Hilton Homes, 2 suites under construction. Additional houses, condos, and apartments. New developments located in our community have led to 600 jobs created in 2016 and 2017, with many more expected in 2018. We are hopeful that other companies such as North Star, who just received federal approval to create a drug that will aid in cancer screenings, will experience success this year that will allow them to invest in the community through capital improvements and job creation. Growth continues in the Gateway Business Park, which is currently valued at $159 million. The Gateway Business Park is home to 10 companies with 1,750 employees, as well as 292 multifamily units and 54 single-family residences. The business park has almost 2 million square feet in industrial and warehouse distribution. Coming soon, 58 more multifamily units in the Hawks Ridge apartment complex. Thanks to the Economic Development Director, Mr. Andrew Yankee, for his diligence in trying to get businesses here. And I pause to say, Andrew is pretty much a one-man show. He has assistance from other people, but he's the one-man show, so thank you for that. Objective 4, create and sustain a high quality of life. From street dance, music at Harry's, to Beloit Snappers games, and from the Beloit Farmers Market to summer playground programs. Our community has plenty of recreational activities for people of all ages, which helps create a vibrant community. Our library is seeing thousands of digital materials checked out. Our senior population has found many opportunities to learn and build a community at Grinnell Senior Center, which has partnered with the Rock County Council on Aging to distribute 151 farmers market vouchers to seniors, hold 2 health classes, and serve 5,061 meals at the county's only senior dining center. Grinnell introduced Rock Steady Boxing in 2018 to help fight against Parkinson's disease. Our families and community members are enjoying our parks and programs. Over 3,500 kids were served with summer playground programs. 757 kids participated in the Beloit Dirty Dash. 350 to 400 people came to Riverside Park for the Touch a Truck event. And 13,167 people used Kruger Municipal Pool for open swim. Nearly 400 residents rented a picnic shelter, and over 500 people used the boat launch. And that just highlights a few of our parks and recreational programs. Our quality of life is not just enhanced through our many activities, sports, and recreation programs. We're also removing ash trees throughout the city. We've removed about 1,000 ash trees and stumps over the last 2 years due to the emerald ash borer, and have about 33% left to go compared to 55% in 2016. And we all dislike winter. But our Public Works Department has found ways to fully clear our main roads during major snow events a full hour faster in 2017 than in 2016, which is getting me to work that much sooner. So I don't know if that's good news or what. While we can't escape the snow, we have many hard-working public works crews who have been working long hours to keep our streets clear of snow so we can all get to work and school each day. And I might add that a lot of these are the same individuals that pick up trash during the day. They end picking trash and go right to shoveling snow and clearing streets. So I wanted to make sure we point that out as well. Thank you to the Downtown Beloit Association Executive Director, Shauna Elamine, the entire Department of Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and Beloit Public Library staff. Visit Beloit and other organizations or departments that helps maintain and enhance the quality of life in Beloit. Once again, the residents wanted something to do, and the city responded. Objective 5, create and sustain high-quality infrastructure and connectivity. An important project for city operations is near completion. An extended fiber optics network will be completed by July 2018. This project will result in a more reliable phone and data connection, eliminate downtime, increase security, and provide backup redundancies. Thanks to Information Systems Director Ray Gorsling and team. We will soon be starting street improvements and water and sewer projects that will help us sustain quality infrastructure over the next few decades. Thank you to the Department of Public Works staff for your work on these projects. We also look forward to seeing how the contributions of our new Public Works Director, Laura Williamson, will positively impact these results in the future. And finally, Objective 6, create and sustain a positive image, enhance communications, and engage the community. We are seeing new ways to engage our residents through the use of social media, our website, surveys, and more. We want to hear from you. Whether it's through social media, the city's website, emails, or phone calls, we want you to know that your voices are heard. From sharing snow emergency information to increased tips to the Beloit Police Department via Facebook, and from fire department ceremony videos to the opening of the golf course, We work best when we are able to have community conversations with you. If you haven't already liked the city's social media pages, take a look and follow them for important information and community updates. We look forward to finding new ways to engage our community and enhance our community's image over the next few months. While we've made progress, we still have a ways to go. We hope to extend this nearly 12-month streak of no homicides through 2018, 2019, and beyond. We want to see property values increase not only in our West Side targeted area, but throughout the entire community. We will continue to work toward attracting new businesses and focus on training our community for existing and future jobs. We will continue to make sound financial decisions so we can enjoy high-quality infrastructure and recreational activities. We will continue to find new ways to engage our community as we share the rest of Wisconsin and Illinois, as we show the rest of Wisconsin and Illinois just how great Beloit is. We will continue to keep our focus on addressing our challenges, such as our homeless population, how to invest in our youth, and explore how we make sure our residents are career ready for companies that want to locate or expand here. It is imperative, I'll say that again, it is imperative that we start training our residents for the many jobs that the casino will bring. Thank you to all city residents and business members who have helped make Beloit a great community. Thank you to my fellow city councilors who have worked together in pursuit of a stronger community. Thank you to the city manager, Lori Luther, for her leadership over the past few years. And thank you to each and every staff member who have dedicated their career to serving the community of Beloit. I would be remiss if I did not personally thank Sarah Miller, Director of Strategic Communications, for her ongoing assistance. As president of the council, there are times when you need information and you need it now. In my case, it always seems to be at the last minute. So I want to sincerely thank Pam Lathrop, Executive Assistant to the City Manager, City Attorney Elizabeth Krieger, and Clerk Treasurer Lori Stotler and her team for being there when I call and for the immediate assistance you all provide. To Lori Luther, thanks for your partnership and your willingness to work to address issues that arise in the city. As president, knowing that I can pick up the phone and call when there is an issue in the city and confidently know the issue will be handled, that's a huge responsibility and a huge appreciation. So residents, councilors, city staff, lend me your ears. Together, let's continue this growth and progress as we make Beloit a community anyone would be proud to call home for a lifetime. This concludes my report. Item 4, public hearings. There are none. Item 5, we've reached a point on the agenda where citizens may come forward and I'll sit down and address anything that's not on the agenda. You can come to the podium where I'm standing, state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to talk. I will not cut you off in the middle of your presentation. However, I'll give you a friendly reminder that you are approaching that time. So at this time, if there's anyone who would like to speak under public comments, please step forward at this time.
And as we wait for individuals for public comment, I would just like to tell the audience that we have hard copies of the State of the City speech that will be available here as you leave if you wish to take a hard copy. There will also be a copy of the speech online on our website as of tomorrow morning. So I welcome you, if you wish to hear any of those fine points, to look at those resources. And then I would also point out that we have a summary document here that includes the performance indicators that the council president summarized in his speech. Those are also available to the individuals here in the audience and can be received at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak under public comments this evening? Third and final call. Anyone wishing to speak under public comments this evening? Seeing none, I would close that portion of the agenda and move to item 6, consent agenda.
All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Is there any councilor who would like anything removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda will go from item 6A through 6J. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Jacobson, second by Forback. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that portion of the agenda passes. Item 7A, please.
7A is consideration of Resolution 2018-51 for approval denial of 2017 through 2019 applicants for an alcohol beverage operator bartender's license for the period February 28th through March 15th. You have before you 11 approvals and one denial per the police department, and the denial has not filed an appeal.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Duncan, second by Presho. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. 7B, please.
7B is consideration of a resolution approving Class B beer and Class B liquor license for Hospitality on the Green, doing business as Putter's Pub, to be located at 1611 Hackett Street. This is our new concessionaire for the golf course, and the agent is here if you have questions.
Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Presho. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Anderson. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Councilor Presho. Go ahead and hit your button. Thank you.
I just want to thank the Agatis, Terry, Jim, and Bill Locke, and everybody involved for taking over this task, and I wish you the best of luck. I think there's a great opportunity there for you, and if anybody can make it work, you guys can. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, there is a motion and a second. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Item 8 is ordinances. 8A, please.
8A is consideration of an ordinance to amend certain sections of the Index of Special Locations, Section 1302 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit, relating to the removal of no parking designations on Sunshine Lane. This is first reading.
Director Williamson.
Staff recommends approval of this, or for consideration. This is basically removing the parking restrictions that were placed when this was a school, and to bring it into compliance now with the fact that there is no longer a school there.
Okay. Thank you. This is on the agenda for first reading. I will have a question because I want to do something after my question. Did we talk to residents in the area about this change? Are residents aware of this change? I'm sorry I didn't ask this
Nope,
earlier.
that's all right. Mike, I know it went through our traffic review committee.
Okay. City manager.
I would suggest that due to the nature of this particular change, we likely would not have provided notice because the requirements for a school are very different than a church, and in certain decisions such as this, which are more ministerial in nature, the regulations are clear on what is provided for a school versus a church.
Okay.
So I don't think that the notice provision would have been appropriate in this case.
Okay. What I would like to entertain this is on the agenda for the first reading. I don't see any major obstacle with this. I would like to, at this time, move it forward for second reading or approval, if that's okay.
Yes. Wait, do you want a motion to waive the rules?
So I would like
We got it.
motions to suspend the rule. So that's by Forback. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jacobson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that rule is suspended. Now to the approving of the no parking or the general ordinance, the change that we're looking at tonight.
So moved.
Motion by Blakely, second by Duncan. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. 7-0. 8B, please.
Consideration of an ordinance to amend certain sections of the Index of Special Locations, Section 1302 of Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit, relating to the removal of parking on 3rd Street near West Grand Avenue. This is also first reading.
Okay, Director Williams.
Yes, again, we are asking that this would be instituted to provide for a clear zone for folks that are trying to to be for the pedestrians, that are going into the Y. So this is to make sure that we have a clear zone for safe travel.
Okay. Same question, actually, for 8B and 8C. Were neighboring people notified of the potential changes that we've taken place? And I guess one of the reasons why I want to ask is I don't want individuals to get up one day and see a major change and not be aware of it, because then those are the phone calls that we receive and saying what happened. So the reason I'm asking, were the neighbors notified so we eliminate any surprises? City Manager Luther.
I'm not aware that we notified the area businesses, but we could perhaps post something at the Y, since the majority, if not all, of the individuals parking at this location would be traveling to that area, and we could make sure that there was some additional information that would make it clear that this change was coming.
Okay.
We normally coordinate, and we did coordinate with the Downtown Business Association with any changes in parking in the downtown area. And so through their membership, they should have been notified through Shauna. So we normally don't notify downtown businesses individually. We do it through that portion of the organization as our partner.
They're all within the districts.
Correct.
We all get notified through the DBAs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's our usual and customary process.
Okay. Vice President Duncan, and then Councilor Preschel.
You can take Preschel.
Councilor Preschel. Go ahead.
I was just going to reiterate that goes through the DBA, and it's they're pretty much do all the notifications for any changes in the downtown district.
Okay.
So it would go through the DBA's notification of memberships, and they're all members in that area. There's nobody in that area that's not a member. You get some border areas where not everybody's a member. But.
Okay, Councilor Duncan, Vice President Duncan.
I just want to echo what President Levy said. I do think we should be sure to notify the residents. So I just had a comment, and maybe you're already doing this or have something like this in the works, but to maybe perhaps put it on our city's website, on our Facebook page, and on the city, on the city's Facebook page. So, just a comment.
And I think what I was going to try to do is the same thing that we did with 8A, but I would like to bring this back for the second reading so we can just guarantee that did take place. So if we can check with Shauna to make sure that did, that they were notified. And I know that that's customary, but I just want to make sure that there's no surprises there. Also, moving forward, and I know once Traffic Review Committee approves it, is there a way, and I'll lead this with the city manager or city attorney, is there a way that DBA, the Downtown Business Association, or Shauna could kind of say businesses have been notified, so that way we know if we want to move it to a second reading the same night, we know that in fact the businesses have been notified. Yeah, and I think that would be fine, because a lot of these we could probably move them the same night, but I want to hold this over for the second reading to make sure that we do that.
Mr. President, I wanted to make one more comment.
Go right ahead.
At the Traffic Review Committee, and you double-check me, Mike, one of the city staff members spoke up and said that he had a one-on-one conversation with the director of the Y, who also agreed it was a good idea.
Yeah, and I get the director of the Y and the director of the DBA are two different people, right? I just want to make sure that everybody's in the loop. So, and I think one way to eliminate that is the next time that, we have them, like city attorney said, we'll just, in the staff report, we'll just put that in there. So there's a motion by Preschel. Is there a second to lay this over? Second by Forback. All in favor of laying this over to our next meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. 8C, please.
Consideration of ordinance to amend certain sections of the Index of Special Locations, Section 1302 of Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit relating to the removal of parking on Bluff Street. This is also first reading.
Director Williamson.
And this one actually was precipitated by the citizens, so citizens have been notified.
Okay.
And in this case, it was to provide for a clear zone when people are traveling on Bluff. So this is to enhance traffic safety in that vision corridor, but citizens were notified.
Okay.
Directed by them.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to amend the rules, suspend the rules, and move this to a second reading and approval tonight? There's a motion by Jacobson, second by Duncan, to suspend the rules and move this to second reading and final reading this evening. All in favor of suspending the rules. Clarification.
I would say there's no need to do so, and I would be loath to do
Okay.
so. To suspend the rules.
Okay.
I don't see any need to do so.
Okay. Okay, I was just informed that there was someone here wishing to speak on this item, and if he would step up at this time. And normally, sir, just a reminder under public comments is normally when you would just come down and speak, but you're more than welcome to speak on this item at this time.
Okay.
Thank you. State your name and address for the record.
My name's Gene Kay, and I live at 410 Bluff Street.
Okay.
And most recently, I've understood that the city wants to make no parking in front of my residence because of people going east on Highland say they can't see around the corner on Bluff. They've just tore down the house, maybe 3 months ago, next to me on the south side. So that house isn't there. I had a tree taken out a couple years ago that was kind of in the way as you would come down Highland. I had that removed. I had several trees removed. At any rate, people say that they can't see around the corner because of cars parked there and this and that. I don't think that's correct. I took some pictures and measurements and all that myself. And I think what they're running into, if you're doing, the speed limit's 25. If you're doing 30, maybe even 35 coming south on Bluff, that's not so bad. But if you come up on Highland and they're doing 50 or 60 miles an hour, the people coming off Highland, especially if they're turning to the left, meaning they have to cross that lane, they don't have enough time to safely get out, no matter how careful they are. Even though I gotta say, 85% of them don't even stop. And I don't mean rolling a sign. I mean, I sat there and I never really paid a lot of attention before. The people fly right through the stop sign. And when they say they can't see around it, how do you explain where they go straight off and hit the guardrail, which is right in front of them? Or they've gone over that. Actually, that's happened once or twice. If cars coming, well, let's see here. This problem could be prevented in a lot of different ways, rather than just saying, well, no parking, so then I have no parking in front of my house. There's 3 apartments across the street. They fill up. Oh, and when there is a big truck there in front of my house or something, they can't see around that.
Okay.
There was recently a U-Haul truck parked there for 9 days. I have no idea why. It wasn't my truck. However, I rent one once in a while, but that wasn't one I rented.
Okay.
Okay, and the other way, well, you could prevent the problem by if people looked before they pull out, instead of glancing and still going.
Okay.
And when you get to the stop sign where there's a walk, technically, you're supposed to stop before the walk, creep out, go past the walk. I don't think probably anybody does that. But when you creep out past the end, you got to stop and then look.
Okay.
And that's, I don't think, happening. And I know Mr. Dupree said that there was a couple complaints on it. I'm not quite sure where that came from or whatever, but I've lived there 36 years. And there has been problems, like myself, when I moved in there were these bushes. They're nice for privacy, but when they're up to here, you can't see all the way down the street real well. So I've cut them down to here. I mean, where they're literally about 2.5, 3 foot tall. You can definitely see over them. I took pictures from the back of one of my cars, which was parked on the north side of my driveway, which would be the neighbor's house. Another car parked in front of my house. And I took a picture down the street. And from the back of the car parked on the west side of the street, taking the picture south or southwest, you can see perfectly clear going down. So people coming down could definitely see.
Okay.
So then I went down and I took pictures of the other side all the way to the curb from the corner, if they came right up to the corner, because a lot of people do, you come up to the corner before you stop. I took pictures from there. You can clearly see down the street. Then I went back 5 feet, 10 feet. You can see across there. Again, if there was a big truck parked there, that might be a problem.
Okay.
But I don't think I've had a big truck parked there more than 5 times since I've lived there.
Okay.
And
Thank
it
you.
wasn't for any length of time.
Okay. City Manager Luther.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that city staff did receive your complaint or your concerns at your address of 410 and also with the operation of the Mia Cab business at that location. We have clarified that the permission to have that business located at that location also required that there not be any parking on site. So we are addressing that issue as well. But this information was provided and is included in your packet. There's also a map that I would point the council to in the exhibit attached to the staff report that illustrates the vision triangle that is provided by our engineering staff that shows the concern, regardless of the type of vehicle, being parked at this location. So I just wanted to conclude
When I
with
did
those
take
comments.
these pictures, I parked 2 of my vehicles right there,
Okay.
so that if they were going to block something, they would. And I do have a garage downtown. I bought one of the older court buildings, and I have cars in there. There's never more than 3 at our place, ever. And they're not, it's usually only 3 that we run with a backup.
Okay.
Okay.
But
So there's one
So I
there,
guess
a lot
my understanding is that we're saying that since there's a business there, it requires that we have no parking there.
Correct. He's
Okay.
not allowed to have any on-site parking at this location. All of the parking is required to be at the off-site location. So I would caution that that particular piece of information not be used in your consideration of the item before you.
Okay.
So even if I were parked in the driveway and there was nothing parked in front of me as far as cab cars,
I believe you received a recent correspondence from our staff that established exactly what is and was not permitted. So
Yeah,
I'm not
actually,
gonna, I don't
it
think
was-
it's appropriate to debate this on the
Right.
floor. We have received the information. It was included in your packet. I think that it's consistent with the information provided now. But, we typically don't allow additional information outside of public comment, and it's not particularly helpful to debate at this point.
right.
So right now, there is a motion to suspend the rules, I believe. There's a motion and a second on the floor to suspend the rules and move this directly to a final reading for approval or denial. At this time, I'm going to entertain the motion in a second and call for the vote on that to suspend the rules. So all those in favor of suspending the rules, say aye. Aye. Can we do that in a roll call, please? And I want to be clear that when we do this, I need to make sure we hear from everybody, and that's the reason that I'm calling for a roll call, because when I called for the vote, I didn't hear enough either way. So what I wanted to do is call for a roll call to make sure that I hear everyone's vote. Thank you.
And my counselors
Yeah.
are alphabetical in here, so.
Can I
sorry.
ask a point of,
Sure, yeah.
Vote's been called.
Yeah, the votes have not been
Could I
called, but go
say
ahead.
one other thing?
Right now, we're getting ready to call for the vote, so.
Okay.
can you just reiterate what's going to happen if the motion is to have this not be a first reading or have it be a first and a second reading?
So what it
Now.
means is, right now, if we approve it for a first reading, it's laid over, which means it comes back to our next meeting for the second and final reading. What I'm proposing to do this evening is suspend the rules for the first reading and move it directly to the second reading, which means when we vote on it this evening, whether it gets voted up or down, that's the final vote on this particular item. So if you wanted to, simple terms, if you want it to come back at the next meeting, then when we call the roll call vote, then you should vote no.
Yeah.
If you're okay with it moving forward in the second reading, then you should vote yes.
Okay.
Is everyone clear? Councilor Blakely.
No, I'm clear.
Oh, okay. Roll call.
Anderson?
Okay.
Aye.
Blakely?
No.
Duncan?
Aye.
Horbeck?
Aye.
Jacobson? Levy.
Aye.
Preschel. That motion carries 5 yes, 2 no.
Okay, that motion passes. So now to the merits of, this would be the second reading. This will be considered a second reading, and the vote tonight will be the final vote on this, on 8C. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Jacobson. Is there a second by Duncan? All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? One opposed. We have, passes 6-1. Thank you. Item 9, appointments. 9A, please.
Under appointments this evening, you do only have one appointment, so I'm going to skip the paragraph. It is to the Equal Opportunities Commission. It is Megan Miller, replacing John Emery for a term ending June 30th, 2020.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Anderson, second by Duncan. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Item 11, item 10, council activities and upcoming events. Councilor Jacobson. Councilor Anderson.
I just wanted to say I saw the Discover Wisconsin episode of Beloit, and that was absolutely amazing. I spent a little time not studying and watching that. I think it was time well spent. It does put Beloit in a positive light, and if you haven't checked it out, definitely do that. It was definitely worth my time, and I think it's worth everybody's time to check it out. Just upcoming in a couple days, I'm leaving to go to New Orleans for a criminal justice conference, so hopefully looking to bring some stuff back and spend some time with some young elected officials throughout the country. So it'll be a fun couple days. It's probably not what you expect from a college kid to go on spring break to go to a criminal justice conference, but so be it. It's going to be a good time anyways.
That's what he said, right? Right. It's right. Wait. You notice all the parents on this end was like, right, criminal justice council in New Orleans, right. That's okay, but yeah, you notice you heard all the parents like, yeah, right. Councilor Blakely.
Last week, Councilor Anderson and I, who's a very serious fellow, were able to sit in the audience for the City Council Candidates Forum held right here. It was really a great experience to see it from the other side, and I think we have a good roster of candidates on this year's ballot. I know that we do. And this coming Thursday evening over at the Colac Center, there will be a similar candidates forum for the people running for school board. So if you're free that evening, you might want to drop over. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Forback.
Well, even though I've been sort of busy, shoulder replaced. Thank you. I also had a chance to attend the steering plan committee, and we're up to over 600 responses now to our digital survey about housing in Beloit. And so we're very happy for that. And we had to work hard and make sure that we did some outreach, which I think is excellent, and I'm proud of our staff to do this. So we don't just have a certain revenue sort of cap on who has responded to this and everything. So I'm thrilled to say I think this is really some good data we can use. So that was good, and it's coming along, and citizens are at this committee and really paying attention, and so you guys will be proud, I think, when you see what comes out of this. This is going to guide us for the next 10 years, so it's important planning. Then very quickly, this is going to sound sort of silly, but it's the first time my husband and I got to hear the Beloit Memorial High School Jazz Band. And we did it last week, and I'm just telling you all, even those of you who've been, saying, yes, this is wonderful, you have to go hear them. They're just superb. It's stunning. And there's tons of kids that go in and out. And I want to bring up that on April 13th, they're going to have a fundraiser, because, of course, they've been invited out to New York again for the fabulous contest of high school jazz bands. So that was also wonderful. That's it.
Thank you, Councilor Presho.
Well, along with Clinton and Sherry, last week we attended the briefing on the release of the, I never think of what the proper name is. Sexual predator, sexual, anyway, into the home on Euclid. And though there's not a whole lot we can do, it was an informational meeting, it was informative. And I'm glad I went and heard from all three. There were four agencies represented there, and the chief did a really good job. Dan Mullen did a really good job presenting for the police department, and it was very informative. If anybody has a chance to or needs to pick up some information on what's going on with that kind of stuff, do so. I know our representatives are working hard to close the loopholes that put us in this bind, and we're not done exhausting our options with it, but it was a really good thing to attend. And then this afternoon, we went out hiking in Big Hill Park with the Welty Center, the Parks Department crews, and everybody looking at opportunities. The Welty Center has some big ideas for Big Hill Park, and it was really fun to go out there and go on that hike and show that hear what other people are thinking about doing out there, as well as some of the opportunity to have some input there. So everybody can get a chance to go out to the school board meeting or the school board forum on Thursday night. Thank you.
City Manager Luther.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on something that Councilor Preschel mentioned. The chief did reach out to our state legislators, and we have had legislation passed in both the House and the Senate. They're slightly different versions of the same bill that provide some additional protections from the placement of sexual predators. So we are hopeful that those will be resolved, put into final form, and eventually signed by the governor. But we really appreciate all of the support that we have had. We wish that it had gone into place prior, obviously, to this situation, but it is a fairly unique set of circumstances, and we are doing everything in our power to keep all of our residents safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Duncan.
Am I on, Kevin?
No, hit the button. You're on now.
Okay. First, I just wanted to mention that I was unable to attend the candidates forum, and I hated that I had to miss it, but I had a prior work commitment. So I just want to say that it really meant, even though I wasn't there, it did mean a lot to me, and I do take being a city councilor for the city of Beloit very seriously, and I'm looking forward to continuing serving our wonderful city. Then also I would like to mention that, as my colleague Clinton mentioned about the Discover Wisconsin, I also shared that on my Facebook link, so you can also be sure and take a look at that. And I also want to thank our Secretary of Tourism, Secretary Clapp, because I feel that she's really helped to put Beloit on the map. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that video or that snippet of Beloit, be sure you go and check it out. And then also I want to say thank you to Vivian Parker for her service with the Beloit Police Department. I know that Vivian retired, so Vivian, if you're listening, we wish you much success. And then I want to also mention that I had an opportunity to attend the Rock County Breakfast along with our city manager, Lori Luther. And then I also had an opportunity to attend the Appointment Review Committee. And we certainly would like to welcome members of the public to please take some time out and look at our city website, because we have all those different vacancies. And if you want to make a difference in our community, we certainly encourage you to do that. And I just want to run down just a quick list of those. We have the Alcohol Beverage License Control Committee. There's one vacancy for the Tavern League rep. The Appointment Review Committee, I believe we just filled one vacancy. And then there's a Board of Appeals. There's one vacancy and a second alternate for that one. The Board of Ethics, there's one vacancy. And then the Landmarks Commission, there's a vacancy for the East Side representative. And also the Municipal Golf Committee, there is one vacancy for a youth representative. So if you really want to roll your sleeves up and get busy, we've got a lot of work going and a lot of things that you can do for the city of Beloit. And let me make sure I got everything here. last but not least, I would like to thank our City Council President, Kevin Levy. He did a wonderful job. Kevin, when you were talking about all the different things that we've done, that we've worked together to do in the city, you could really, I felt it, but we can also see it when we're driving in our cars every day, when we're turning on just what the Public Works Department does. We can turn on our water fountains and we get water. We can take a shower. And those are things that I think we often take for granted because our staff is doing such a magnificent job. We can look and go on the west side of town and see the neighborhood revitalization that's going on and the growth that's taking place with Andrew and his team with economic development. It's unbelievable. When I sat down, I couldn't even think of a list. I'm like, okay, we got the GS Brewing, we got this, we got that, and all these different companies coming to Beloit, our downtown area, and then what Ms. Hendricks is also doing for the downtown area, the new Y that we have where the kids can go and play after school. So there are so many great things happening. And so when our president just brought that to the forefront with his address tonight, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to our city staff, and thank you for our counselors that sit here right by my side, because without them, where would we be? So we are all a team in this together. We want Beloit to be a better place to live.
Regina, sometimes, I can't even follow stuff when you go all out there. What am I supposed to say now, Actually, as I always state, this is a great city, and believe it or not, we don't get paid. This is not our real jobs. So a lot of people think this is our real jobs, but individuals who run for these offices, school board, city council, we do it because we love the city, and the meetings. We're here because we love the city and we want to make a difference. I say that as a segue to the students that's here, to make sure that as you walk around and hear people say there's nothing to do in this city, tell them to come to the city council meeting and say, here's what we would like to see. This is going to be your city one of these days. So we want you to feel free to come forward and let us know what you want to see, but also start looking at running for office yourself. Some of us are still young down here. So that half of the, so we're going to be, retiring or off the scene soon, and we're going to need people to take over these seats with different visions and coming down here to make a true difference. So I'm encouraging the students that's here to please do that. Some of you are smiling, saying, yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but I think we should just keep them here to midnight till we get a commitment from them to say that they will do that. But no, seriously, I want to thank the city staff as well. Everyone in the city is doing a great job. Our city is the way it is because of, as I said in my speech, because of the community members, but also the city staff. I think you can call any department and you're going to get the assistance that you need. We're seeing great improvements, not that it was horrible, but in our customer service. People are willing to help you. All you have to do is call if you have any questions. So with that, we would conclude council activities and upcoming events and move to item 11, City Manager's presentation, which is 11A, please.
Presentation on the Community Development Block Grant, year-end accomplishments, and the Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy area highlights.
Gary Downey.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? Because sometimes I talk softly and people can't hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the perfect meeting to have this. I didn't realize that we would be talking, kind of expanding on what you already brought forward today. So I'm excited to share with you what we're doing in CDBG. We do have a PowerPoint there it is, okay. So one thing is every year we receive CDBG funding, but, and you see the budget and you see the annual plan, but we never do an update at the end of the year to show you what we've accomplished with CDBG. So this is the first time that we're doing this. And we have the NARSA, which is attached to the CDBG funding, and we've already made a lot of progress there, so I wanted to make sure that you all could see the progress that we're making.
Okay.
So before we start, there's some important acronyms that I'm going to be saying over and over again, and not everyone in the audience or the counselors may be familiar with. CDBG is a Community Development Block Grant, and that is funding that the city gets every year as a formula from the federal government. CAPER, which stands for Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. It's much easier to say CAPER. That is the year-end CDBG report that the city must submit to HUD every year that reports on the accomplishments that we've made with the CDBG program. There is a public hearing at the CDA meeting in this room on March 28th on the CAPER, if anybody wants to come to that or speak on the accomplishments. It's also out for public review right now. It's on the city's website and also available on third floor of City Hall. NARSA, you'll hear a lot tonight too, and that stands for Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy Area. And I'll go through what my plan is first to go just do a very quick refresher on the difference between the CDBG and what the NARSA is, because can be a confusing concept, and I think people get them mixed up. And then we will move on to the accomplishments under the regular CDBG program. Then we'll move on to the accomplishments under the NARSA. We do have Mark Perry here from Community Action. He will talk to you about some of the resident empowerment pieces. And we also have Captain Rissy over here, and he will talk to you about some of the accomplishments that under the public safety section. So just as a refresher, we have the 2017 CDBG funding. Council approved that funding in November of 2016, and we have to spend that funding between January 1 and December every year. The NARSA was approved by HUD on August 20th of 2017, and Council approved special allocations for NARSA activities that go through the end of this year. So under the regular CDBG funding, Council approved funding 11 agencies for public service activities and 3 city programs. Under the NARSA section, Council approved to have 2 agencies provide public services, 1 agency provide direct home buyer assistance, and then 2 city programs. And that funding was specifically for activities in the NARSA areas. So first I'll go through the 2017 CDBG accomplishments, and then we'll move to the NARSA accomplishments. So the 2017 CDBG beneficiaries, which are either people served or households served, the first, you'll see the 11 public service agencies there. I numbered them 1 through 11. All of those agencies are nonprofit agencies in the city of Beloit, or they provide services in the city of Beloit for city residents. The city programs that are funded with CDBG are the Housing Rehab Loan Program, Code Enforcement, and the Economic Development Loan Program. Now, you'll notice under the city programs for code enforcement, the inspection numbers, I didn't include those in the total people because they're not people. So we were able to serve 1,264 residents in 2017. So as you know, public services, there's a 15% cap on the money, which means we can only give 15% of our money to public service agencies. So in 2017, the council awarded $141,496 to the 11 public service agencies. Those agencies were able to assist 1,221 people with that funding, which is an average of only $116 per person or household. So we were able to help lots of people for not a whole lot of expense. President Levy, you always ask what we're doing for homelessness, so this slide is for you.
Appreciate it.
You were concerned when we were allocating funding for the NARSA that we weren't allocating funding for homelessness. And under the regular CDBG funding, we did do allocations for homelessness, and we are providing 30% of our funding goes for homeless activities under the regular NARSA. I do have an asterisk next to the youth, and that is because in 2017, for the first time, we didn't have the Merrill Center. So we didn't have any numbers for the youth because there's been a transition. Community Action now has a Merrill Center, so hopefully next year we'll see that number rise. Okay? These 5 categories are categories that the city's required to report to HUD. There's specific categories that each activity I have to check a box that says what kind of thing it is, what kind of activity it is. The reason that I have case management there highlighted is because the priorities that the CDA and the council set for public service agencies was that there was a comprehensive case management piece. So this shows that most of our activities did achieve that case management piece, so that's a good thing. So we'll move to the NARSA activities.
Can I ask you to go back? Sure. I apologize, Terry, for interjecting. I just think it's incredibly important because this also highlights 2 other, while all of these are city council initiatives, there's also a great deal of conversation that we've had about workforce development, and job skills are the second highest activity on this chart. Homelessness services, while also improving housing stock and affordable housing, but those are much smaller programs in comparison to the others. But I thought it was worth noting.
And since we're going back, the youth, can you repeat kind of what you said about youth?
The youth? Okay. Do you want me to go back to the slide?
Well, you can just stick to it. You don't need to go back to the slide. I'm just...
So for youth activities in past years, we've always funded the Merrill Center. The city's always funded the Merrill Center. The Merrill Center usually had between 300 and 500 some years children served every year. So unfortunately, the Merrill Center closed in late 2016. So the funding had already been allocated to Merrill Center, but we did have to reprogram that funding, but the application period was over by then. So we haven't seen an application yet for some youth services with CDBG. I don't know if that'll change next year. It doesn't mean, I promise you, it doesn't mean that we're not doing things with youth. It just means that in 2017, CDBG funding wasn't used for specific youth programming. And Mark will come up and talk about what we're doing with the youth programs. You look like you have more questions.
I do, but I'll yeah, I know Mark is, I'll wait.
Okay, so for NARSA activities, when the plan was developed, there was a vision, and that vision was to establish safe, healthy, and stable neighborhoods and ensure all Beloit residents have meaningful opportunities for economic stability and growth. And the community and staff thought that neighborhood revitalization, resident empowerment, and public safety were the way to get to that vision. I'm not going to read all of these, but this is just a reminder that there were specific objectives underneath each strategy. In the full NARSA plan, there are action steps under each of those objectives. So what you're going to hear that we're doing are the activities that we did. All of them speak to the objectives that we have in each of the categories. I should say that under resident empowerment, we have community action here to speak only about number 2 and number 4. If we spoke about all of them, we would be here until midnight, and that might work because you wanted the students to stay, right?
They stay to midnight, so.
So the funding, the CDBG funding that was allocated for NARSA activities under neighborhood revitalization, council approved funding, extra funding for the housing rehab loan program, for code enforcement. The city does have other funding sources that we are allocating to this initiative, including HOME. NSP stands for Neighborhood Stabilization Program. That's another grant that we received a few years ago. And then CIP, which is the city's funding. Under resident empowerment, council approved funding family services for a community social worker program and community action for the resources navigator. Now, NeighborWorks down payment assistance I put under both categories because that fulfills both both of those things. Now, public safety, the police department developed strategies under the NARSA and has been implementing them since the beginning of last year, and probably even maybe before that. But and the public safety component is vital to the other two surviving. Unfortunately, it's ineligible for CDBG, so they're doing these initiatives on their own without CDBG funding. So, under neighborhood stabilization, I'm going to take you through the neighborhood stabilization, and then I'm going to hand it over to Mark and then Captain Rissy. So, neighborhood revitalization. We have, on the near west side, we have a target area. We've done one new construction house by partnering with the Wisconsin Partnership for Housing Development. We've done 2 purchase rehab resale homes. And so the new construction in these 2 houses that the city did, there was an open house. I think all of the counselors made it too, almost. Not everybody? Okay. And then NeighborWorks Blackhawk region also did 3 purchase rehab resale projects in this area as well. The city did 3 demolitions. We have enhanced code enforcement for both of the NARSA neighborhoods, and that is a coordinated response to the most deteriorated properties that we have, especially abandoned, vacant and abandoned homes. That's what we heard from the neighborhoods, that they really were concerned about those. And then we had one instance where we did some proactive intervention for a vacant and abandoned 11-unit property in the neighborhood. And that is the planning division recognized that this 11-unit, after 1 year, would lose its nonconforming status and would have to be turned into a single family, which they didn't think made much sense. So they proactively changed the zoning for that neighborhood or that area so that property could remain an 11-unit, and that property was purchased and now is being rehabilitated and will provide more housing in the area rather than sitting there remaining vacant for years.
Write it down. I
was going to ask a question about these.
Write it down. We can ask questions.
Okay. We also provided funding to a nonprofit partner, NeighborWorks Blackhawk region. They're formerly known as NHS of Beloit. Council approved CDBG funding for down payment assistance for the NARSA areas. Also home funding for, is it NARSA areas or for anywhere? For our projects. Okay, so for our projects, our purchase rehab resale projects and the new construction projects. And then NeighborWorks Blackhawk region also has NeighborWorks funding that offers a first mortgage loan program, which is up to $25,000 if somebody wants to buy a home, a vacant home, and rehab it. The reason they did the first mortgage loan program is one of the things that we discovered is that lending institutions many times won't lend for a first mortgage for less than $35,000 or less than $25,000. So people who wanted to buy vacant properties whose values may be lower didn't even have the opportunity unless they had the money laying around. So our housing rehab loan program, what we've done since August is we've done targeted outreach to both neighborhoods. We created a new lead grant program, which the City Council approved, and that provides funds on a forgivable loan basis for people to remove lead hazards. And then these are the loans that we did just in the NARSA areas in 2017. So there was a total of 9 loans in the NARSA areas. So the total improved properties in both NARSA areas is 18 since 2017. And we've seen an increase from 2016 to 2017. I think you said it was 102% in your report, so that just shows the same thing that you were talking about. And that is just in the west side target area. We've also seen a change in some of the sales in the west side target area. In 2016, we had
people who purchased residential properties in the West Side target area. 3 of them were owner occupants, and 13 were rentals. And in 2017, we saw that change to a 50-50 split, 9 owner occupants and 9 rentals. Does anybody have any questions about the neighborhood revitalization before I bring up Mark?
Council Presho.
No, I did. I was just wondering, I recall from when I was on CDA about the 6 project homes that were going to go up for sale last year, or 4 of them or something, that they were single-family homes on the west side. I think there was 3 on the west side, 3 on the east side, or something like that. They were going to go up for sale at one time, and because they weren't supposed to carry them on their books or something, I don't know. I was just wondering what happened with all that. I hadn't heard.
Project base? Oh.
The project-based Section 8, so we had 9 homes that we were going to sell when we did the tax credit development, and we didn't because of where the market was at.
Yeah, because the market, yeah.
And we have to give the residents a year notice that we're going to sell the properties.
Okay.
So we haven't given them notice yet, and we're working through the process with HUD to see what all hoops we have to go through. And once we know what those are, our intention is to do an RFP to hire a realtor, list them with a realtor, but we do have to give the residents a year notice, and then they have the ability to get a voucher and find another place to live, just in case an owner-occupant buys the house. So, but we're still working through that process.
Okay. I know it's a seller's market right now, so it's a great time to sell, so I didn't want to lose an opportunity. And I recall there was some reason we shouldn't be carrying them on the books for too long, but I can't remember what the exact reasons were.
Because public housing has capital fund for us to make improvements to the houses.
Yeah.
Project-based, there's no capital money to maintain the units, so we have to maintain the units using the rent we receive. Which, given that there's a voucher, there's not as much, it's not like you're getting the 100% of the rent.
Yeah.
So long-term, they're going to cost too much to maintain, so.
And our goal is to be owner-occupied.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
So the city partnered with Community Action when we developed the NARSA and wrote the NARSA for the resident empowerment piece, because that's their bailiwick. We are more the neighborhood revitalization and public safety folks, but Community Action helped draft the resident empowerment piece with the objectives, and 2 of those objectives are on the screen here, and Mark Perry from Community Action is here to talk about a coordinated youth programming project that's underway right now, and the Resources Navigator position, which was created in 2017 based on the needs that the community members explained that they needed, and that position is funded with CDBG funds for NARSA activities. Mark?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I first wanted to talk about some of the coordinated efforts that are going on in terms of youth with the youth serving agencies in our community. 2 things we often hear. One from funders is that please do not duplicate services, and then from families and youth in our community that there isn't anything to do, especially in the summer. So we pulled together a group of youth serving organizations. And I guess we started meeting in January. That includes Community Action, Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, Welty Environmental Center, the School District of Beloit, and actually City Park and Recreation Services, to talk about doing more comprehensive summer programming, to look at ways that we could collaborate, and also look at ways that we can support each other's programs and services. What's come out of those meetings so far, and we're 3 or 4 meetings in, the first thing that we've worked on is programming for our elementary school youth. So targeting those NARSA neighborhoods, we looked at Robinson School and Merrill Elementary School, which will host summer school programs. Those programs will run from 7:15 a.m. till 2:15 p.m. Our concern is for parents who need wraparound care beyond that who are working. So one, we have the school district to agree to keep their buildings open until 5:30 p.m. And the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club will provide wraparound care each day, Monday through Friday, from 2:30 to 5:30, and provide activities and programming so that those families have access to those services. Those services aren't going to be free, but for 8 weeks of that program, we're charging $80. So it's essentially $10 a week for your child to have that after-school care. So to make sure our young people, our elementary school youth in those two neighborhoods have extended care. We're also working on what we think is our biggest gap, which is around our intermediate school youth. And trying to figure out services for them. So looking at when summer school is planned for them and what we can do beyond that to provide programming. Community Action and Boys and Girls Club have been partnering for the past 4 years now on a 8-week summer program targeting that age group. And we've talked about expanding that program this summer. So this is, again, where the city comes in, which is pretty awesome. The city Parks and Rec Department offered up Telfer Park as a program location for us this summer. So what we're looking at doing is providing programming at Boys and Girls Club for middle school youth on the west side, and then programming for middle school youth on the east side at the Telfer Park Pavilion. That program through Community Action and through Boys and Girls Club, that middle school program will actually be free for the kids, not free for us. Lots of grant writing and late nights lately. The other thing we've been talking about is how do we promote each other's programs and services. So we're going to be hosting, all those groups are going to be coming together in one space on May 5th, venue to be determined, and hosting a summer sign-up fair, so that we can promote the collaborative programs that we're doing, but also promote each other's individual programs and services. So again, that is Community Action, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, Welty Environmental Center, School District, and City Park and Recreation Services. We also talked about our high school youth. So Community Action for our seventh summer, we'll be hosting our summer mentoring program. So that'll be offered for 30 high school age youth. Trying to look at expanding that. But the big issue that we hear from our high school youth is we want summer jobs. So one of the conversations we've been having with the city is about how do we work on those seasonal jobs that are available and make those opportunities available for the kids that we work with, especially in the Maryland Hackett neighborhoods. So the city will be hosting a job fair, and the date escapes me, but April 7th. April 7th, that's right. So the city will be hosting a job fair on April 7th, and we'll actually have youth from our programs coming and staff from our programs coming to that job fair to help youth complete applications, and then youth hopefully will be able to interview that day as well. But the push is to give those youth more opportunities and to create that access, because we really do hear from our high school youth that they want to work for the summer.
So I'm going to shout out, just as you were saying, it is April 7th from 8 to 11 at the library. There should be applications available on the city's website, so we highly, strongly encourage our high school students and other students, that could be college students as well, to do the online application, and then come between 8 and 11, you are guaranteed an interview.
What day of the week is that on?
It's a Saturday.
Is there a way that we can make sure that information gets to the high school, and maybe even on our website or Facebook page as well? Because I think that would get a lot of traction. And even I think if we put the announcement out there, is there a way to attach the application to that on Facebook? The link.
Yeah, I know that city staff are working now on an announcement to get that out, and then all the agencies have agreed to put it on our websites, on our Facebook page, publicize it with our youth. We're actually working our Fresh Start program, which is essentially our alternative high school program with Community Action. We're working with our youth now on those summer applications so that they have opportunity for a job once they graduate in June, and then we'll be bringing all of those youth with us, or as many of those youth as we can, with us on Saturday the 7th with staff to help them through the interview process. So, because we want to make sure that the opportunity is fully taken advantage of.
Do you have flyers for that, Mark?
Not yet. Flyers are being developed for both the. I'm actually working on the flyer for the summer sign-up day on May 5th, and then I know the city's already working on the flyer for the job fair that'll be coming out soon. So both of those things are happening, and then the conversations continue about what we can do beyond this summer. and how we can work more collaboratively together. One of the other fun conversations I had last week was with staff from Welty and from the city. We were out at Big Hills Park talking about ways that we can utilize Big Hills Park to do some camping programs and some environmental education programs. As a former camp director, that's really exciting to me. So we've actually planned a couple of dates for younger youth and for older youth to do day trip and actually an overnight, 2-night overnight out at Welty or out at Big Hills Park in July. So all working together, trying to figure out how we can best utilize the spaces we have and the resources we have and work towards our strengths with each other. And everybody's come to the table and been really awesome. So that's been amazing going on. We've also reached out to Career Tech and reached out to Hendricks Foundation. So they're going to be organizing another meeting April 19th, I believe it is, of all of us coming together to talk about ways that they can further help our collaboration moving forward. So lots of, hopefully what we have, exciting things going on for youth, and as much as possible, either very low cost or free programming for youth. Any questions? It's kind of the youth side of it.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll probably, my fellow counselors will probably just echo this too as well, but I just heard no duplication but collaboration. So I just want to say thank you so much, Mark, for what you and Angelina are doing. You make it sound really easy when you're standing there, but I realize firsthand the work that's involved in that. When you talk about what our children need, what the kids need in this community, and then when you talk about building that bridge for the high school, I know firsthand how important that is because we don't think about it. I think we don't realize there are kids who go home and there's no one at their house, or there may be no food to eat. So those things I understand firsthand. So I just want to thank you for what you're giving to this community and what you're putting into this project, because I know it's not as easy as it sounds, but thank you for that.
Yeah, two of our biggest conversations are food and transportation. So the food piece we think we have relatively resolved. The transportation piece we're still working on collectively because we want to make sure children can get from school to the sites and also from the sites home safely. So we're still trying to figure out how that's going to work, but we'll figure it out. So yeah, that's kind of the youth work. It's been really awesome to do and having everybody come to the table and be really collaborative and cooperative. So. The other part of this with the NARSA is our resource navigator, which I think is the real gem of the NARSA work that we've been doing. I don't actually do that job, but I have the good fortune of overseeing the person who does that work for us at Community Action, Angelina Reyes. Working with families in both the Merrill and Hackett neighborhood, providing opportunities, access to services, and providing referrals. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes for folks to have a cheerleader, a champion, somebody to push them, somebody to motivate, somebody to support, and somebody to run a little bit of interference when you need that extra push. And Angelina's been doing an amazing job, and our families are really taking advantage of every opportunity that's being created for them. But I'll let her tell you a little bit about the program. We also have a participant who's going to tell you a little bit as well about her experience.
Good evening, I'm Angelina Reyes. I just wanted to go over some of the numbers for the nurse and how it kind of built very quickly. Sorry. So when NERSA first began, and me and Mark collaborating and talking about how we were going to get referrals, we ended up reaching out to the Hackett principal and social worker. Within the first 2 weeks, we had 10 family referrals. Within a month, we had 12 family referrals. Currently, we have 26 active in Hackett neighborhood and 14 in Merrill. Total of 51 NERSA participants. So we do have about 11 that are not active, but we do have a total of 40 that are currently active. We have collaborated with various different organizations, including our community action programs, of course. 2 of our young ladies will be graduating who just barely made the cutoff for the Fresh Start program this year. So they will be walking the stage at Blackhawk in May, which is very exciting. Salvation Army has been a great help. Carrot Toss, of course, their diaper pantry and food pantry, clothing, when there's not clothing at the center, or somewhere where we're always reaching out to, there's someone that we can call, pick up the phone and say, we're really in need. 9 times out of 10, it's getting done. It's getting done. It may take a week, may take a week and a half, but it gets done. We have also done some collaboration with Clothing with Head Start with their clothing closet. Also, the Beloit Domestic Violence Shelter. We've done some reaching out to a couple of school district officials, helping high school students that are parents and students are unsure as far as FAFSA and how to fill those applications out. So school officials have been very good if you just pick up the phone and ask. And that's kind of what I do, pick up the phone and ask. If I don't know, I'm just looking, and it might take an hour, but it gets done. So also, Serta Mattress has donated so far 31 queen mattresses to our area residents in need. Bed bugs last year was a horrible epidemic. I don't know if anyone heard about it, but it was like back to back. People were having issues with bed bugs. POG, our Porter Avenue Watch Group with Norvane Pleasant, we've collaborated with him as well to try to get some educational pieces going on with the NERSA for families. Most recently collaborating with Rod from Family Services and doing some financial literacy, which was our last POG meeting, which is the second Monday of every month. So we're trying to get NERSA families to be sure that they participate in those meetings, providing childcare, snack, that sort of thing. Betsy from Merrill Center comes over and does childcare for the kids and that sort of thing. So St. Vincent de Paul, which is something I didn't know about, I learned that from families who were coming to me saying they received funds from them, but they've been a huge help as far as rental assistance for our community families. Just a few of the things, of course, that families are running into is, as Mark said, transportation is a huge thing, especially in the winter months. Kids are unable to get back and forth to school, missing a lot of school in the winter months because families don't have transportation to get back and forth or to take the kids back and forth to school. But with that being said, we have Erica here, who is not just a NERSA participant, but she is also a Fresh Start student who will be graduating in May. So.
Hi, I'm Erica Marr. I'm a little nervous. Okay, so I'm currently attending to Fresh Start at Beloit Community Action. I've been there 7 months now. And I'm really glad that I met Angelina, and now that I'm working with Community Action, because I will be graduating May 10th, and I never thought I will be graduating. So it's a good thing. I am now CPR and OSHA certified. And so, yeah, I think I came a long way working with Community Action.
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I guess my question to Mark that I was thinking, I don't know, I'm going to ask it of Mark, Julie, the city manager, I don't know who's going to answer, but I'm happy with what we're doing with the youth, because in my address I said we need to make sure we invest in our youth in the future. So I've had individuals that have approached me before and saying we need funds for a program that we have. So as a counselor, one of the things that I wrestle with is where do they go to get funds? Because the city we have no funds. What we have is tight. Do individuals have to be, I don't know where to send people when they need that additional assistance for funding. It's easy to say go to Community Action, go to Community Action, but what I'm hearing is you have a plethora of programs right now, and you're writing grants late at night, which is, I'm okay with that, Mark, really. I'm okay that, but I mean, I wonder, because as we move on, you're going to see other individuals stepping out saying, I want to be a mentor to a group of kids, but I want to do this in the summer, I want to do this in the fall. We don't have the funding to do they don't always tie in with the school. They always don't tie in with community action. I'm just struggling here of where do we...
So the thing that I would say is this: a lot of people have really great ideas, and a lot of people's hearts are in the right place, and a lot of people want to do a lot of things, but very few people actually have plans.
Okay.
So the best thing that somebody can do who wants to do something is get with an organization that already has the systems and the structure in place to do the work, and connect that way. A lot of people want to do and it's great that we have, but the best thing that people can do is connect with an existing youth serving organization in this community and volunteer and support that way. Because starting a program here and trying to start a program there and trying to fund it, if you don't have the expertise to do the programming, if you're not a youth development professional, and don't get me wrong, good-hearted, well-intentioned people keep us going.
Right.
But working with youth is not something that you just decide you're going to do one afternoon. There's programs, there's system, there's structure, there's outcomes we need to produce, and there are best practices to working with youth. So if you want to be engaged with working with youth and you don't have time to do it on a full-time basis, but you want to do something, volunteer. If you're inclined to do something more full-time, apply for a job at one of the youth serving agencies. That's the best thing I can tell people.
Okay.
And that's not me being selfish or me trying to protect my programs or services. That is absolutely 100% in the best interest of the kids and the families in this community.
Okay. All right. Thank you. City Manager.
Yes, if I may. So when I field those questions, the first question I ask is your organization a formal nonprofit? Are you a 501c3? And we ask those questions because there has to be an organizational structure to assume responsibility for these programs. And then my second question is, what are your partnerships with the school district, with Community Action, with Boys and Girls Club, with YMCA, with Merrill Center? All of those, one of those parties, because we have a track record with those organizations and things like background checks for your volunteers. When we're dealing with children, we can take no risk in allowing volunteers who have access to those children, and not all well-intended groups have sophisticated enough systems in order to guarantee that those kinds of activities are being handled, monitored, and that there's accountability in place. So I wholeheartedly agree, and I just wanted to give a shout out here. You know, my staff hears, I hope, more often how much I appreciate the work that we're doing on the property side of this solution. But I wanted to mention, because I think that I have a perspective. I've worked in a number of cities across the Midwest in 4 different states. The collaboration that is happening here, this is rare, this is unique, this is leading edge. And I am so immensely proud that the city is a partner in this. We realized early on that we could not solely be the provider of people services, nor should we. It is not our area of expertise. We have a role to play. But these partnerships, we heard during the listening sessions early on, many people were asking for services that we knew were available. But there was a lack of understanding and knowledge about how to access those resources and how those organizations could work cooperatively together. And I think we are seeing some unprecedented coordination, collaboration, cooperation amongst agencies, and that it is immensely exciting for our community. So thank you for your leadership in this and taking on the people component of the NARCIS strategies. This is groundbreaking work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Angelina. And thank you, Erica. We'll move to the public safety portion of the NARSA, and Captain Dan Rissy is here to talk about those items. Would you like the PowerPoint up, or are you just going to read from your? Okay.
Hi. If you take a look at the objectives on the left-hand side of the margin, they really run in line with what Chief Z's been trying to do within the organization since we began our restructuring a few short months ago, years ago. And that's all kind of running together. If we look at conversations with the community, and as President Levy indicated how important that is in getting that conversation started, we started that a while ago, not necessarily in relation to NARSA, but more as a measuring stick to find out exactly what people thought about what we were doing and the direction that we needed to go. Now taking that conversation with the community and turning it into something we're using for NARSA is one of the objectives that we've already started. In a sense, we don't get necessarily right into those target areas, but we draw some of the same people, kind of like the meeting Councilor Preschel was at, where we talked about the sex offender release the other night. We're trying to empower the community, trying to give them as much information as we can, as City Manager Luther said, working with our legislatures in order to aid and to help to provide that sense of security that we all look forward to, regardless of where we live within our community. Realignment of the beat areas, what we did with that one was we took a look at all the crime that occurs within our city, including the two areas, tried to figure out a way to realign to better serve and put the most officers we could in the areas that they needed to be. And that allowed a realignment probably, I want to say within the last decade it hadn't been done. So it was time to do that. We were able to increase patrol by, I guess you would say, double in the area by allowing the restructuring to occur. As we look into 2018, and when you go into closed session, you'll see part of the collective bargaining agreement, change in schedule is going to incorporate and enhance that even a little bit further. Crime analysis, pre-planning for 2018, that pre-planning by having perhaps more officers available in that area, it's going to allow us an opportunity not just to attend events, but actually be a part of the events, something that we haven't necessarily been able to do with the challenges that we've had with our staffing as we continue to try to get the numbers where they need to be. Next slide. Police Explorers, that program went dormant for a while. Lieutenant Sales, most of you probably are aware, I've already sent out the flyers. We have a list for the youth for the Police Explorer program. We're going to utilize them as well as the officers to take a look at lighting, work with code to address some of the issues within those two neighborhoods. The grant, I'm happy to say, through the Department of Justice, we already received one beat patrol grant used to offset funding for 2 positions. There's a companion-ish type grant that allows for overtime to be used to help put officers in those 2 areas to participate in some of those programs that we alluded to. We got a verbal commitment. We're still actually waiting for the official word, but it looks real promising. The bicycle patrol unit, that'll be a proactive measure. We'll be able to use that beat patrol grant money to put officers out. That's been posted. We did a little research with the University of Wisconsin Whitewater Police Department. They're going to host some training. We've reserved some spots, kind of waiting, make sure that grant comes in right. Crime analysis position, I think the posting was closed. I know they're taking a look at the number of applicants, and certainly in 2018, we'll have that one filled. I went quick, but...
Questions? Bike Patrol, that's me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. And does anybody have
Any other questions?
any other questions?
Seeing none.
None.
Thank you. Great job. Great job, everyone.
Great job.
Adjourn closed session. Report, item 12, reports from boards and city officers. 12A, please.
The city may convene in a closed session pursuant to Section 1985, Sub 1E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specific public businesses whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, namely to discuss the negotiation of 3 collective bargaining agreements with employees in the police and fire departments. The city may reconvene into open session to take action, possible action on the matters discussed in that closed session.
Okay, before we go into closed session, is there anyone that needs to take a break before we go in there? Because if not, what I'm going to do, once we entertain the motion to go into closed session, then I would direct everyone to leave here and go right to the conference room. Is there anyone need a break? Seeing none at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. Motion by Duncan, second by Preschel. All in favor of going into closed session, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Please go directly to the conference room. this one, sir? 12A.
Three resolutions.
Is there a motion to go back into open session? Motion by Duncan, second by Preschel. Any questions or comments? All in favor of going back into open session, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We are back in open session. As to the matter discussed, can we read the first resolution for item 12A, please?
The first resolution is a resolution approving and ratifying a meet and confer agreement between the City of Beloit and the Beloit Police Supervisors Association, BPSA, for the term January 1, 2018 through December 31st, 2020.
Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Motion by Preschel. Is there a second? Second by Forbeck. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. That passes 7-0. Second motion for item 12A, please. Second resolution for item 12A.
The second resolution is a resolution approving and ratifying a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Beloit and the Wisconsin Professional Police Association Law Enforcement Employee Relations Division for the term January 1, 2018 through December 31st, 2020.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Jacobson. Is there a second by Blakely? Questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Third resolution for item 12A.
Computer is getting slow. It's getting tired. Sorry. Resolution approving and ratifying a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Beloit and the International Association of Firefighters Local Union 583 AFL-CIO for the term January 1, 2018 through December 31st, 2020.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Duncan, second by Preschel. Questions, comments?
I'd just like to say thank you to our city manager and to everybody, and to all the staff and the fire departments, the police department, to getting this done and getting us on the road so we can get back to business.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. 12B,
The council
please.
may convene into closed session pursuant to Section 1985-1G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel, rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation which is likely to become involved, specifically to consider the possible settlement of claims filed by Scott Stoltz and Curtis Knight. The city council may reconvene in open session for possible action on matters discussed in closed session.
Is there a motion to go to closed session? Motion by Duncan, second by Preschel. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are in closed session. Once again, I would direct us to go directly to the conference room. Thank you.
trooper.
Be the diligent.
It's his profession.
Yeah, whatever. Is there a motion to go back into open session?
So moved.
Motion by Preschel, second by Blakely. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we're back in open session. Resolution for item 12B, please. Is there a motion to approve?
You. All right. First resolution is authorizing a settlement of claim filed by Curtis C. Knight.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Preschel, second by Duncan. Questions, comments? All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Second resolution for 12B.
A resolution authorizing settlement of claim filed by Scott Stoltz.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Blakely, second by Duncan. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. 12C, please.
The City Council will convene in closed session in the City Manager's Conference Room on the fourth floor of City Hall pursuant to 1985(1)(c) to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, namely to discuss annual appraisal for City Manager Luther. The council will not reconvene into open session.
The motion to go to close. Motion by Duncan, second. Second by Preschel. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are in closed session.
5-minute recess, please.
5-minute recess.
Please, yes.